Welcome to the Grow My Officiant Business podcast. My name is Chad Muncie, and I'm delighted to have you on the show today. This is the podcast where wedding officiants, celebrants, and wedding business owners come to learn together and take their businesses to the next level. Let's get started. Hello, Officiant Nation. Welcome to the Grow My Officiant Business podcast. This is your host, Chad Muncie, and let me say that I am the proudest podcast host with all the love I've already received from the few episodes that I have put out on YouTube and on all the podcast networks. You are the absolute best, so I want to say thank you. Today, I'm extremely excited to have on the show someone that I consider, from speaking to her and everything that she's done, to have expertise in an area that a lot of officiants struggle with and seem to have a lot of questions about. And that is when they don't do them all the time themselves. And that is elopements. So I'm really excited to talk about that today. And all the way from New Orleans, we have an incredible guest. And I want to welcome to the show, Lorrie Werden. So thank you for being on, Lorrie.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you today, and I want to thank you for being kind enough to share your expertise in this area with us. So Let's get started. If you just want to introduce yourself and tell us about yourself, where you're from, how you got into this crazy business.
Okay. Well, my name is Lorrie Werden. I am originally from Washington State. I am a transplant down here in the deep South and just out of New Orleans. I originally got started with my business because a girlfriend of mine's daughter was looking for an officiant, and she couldn't find what she called the perfect fit. And so after a lot of struggle and a lot of talking to her, I went and got my officiation license and got ordained and said, okay, well, let's figure it out. And so that was my first ceremony. And kind of after that, it's just been kind of a love for mine. I just truly loved what I did. I loved to see the joy in their face and be part of that special day. And so family and friends would contact me and say, hey, I heard you do officiation, so can you officiate so-and-so's wedding? And so I kind of did that for a while. And then when I relocated to New Orleans, I said, okay, well, it's time to make a business out of it. And since New Orleans is the second elopement place of the United States, Vegas being number one, I decided that I had a good opportunity. So I kind of started putting my feelers out there, and business kind of took off from there. I mean, it's just it's just something that I truly love. And my clients always tell me, you do such an amazing job because you love what you do.
Right. So I love something that you just said there. I think it's super important that sometimes we'll stop the conversation and talk about things that I don't even think that you know that you're saying, but there's a lot of people out there who are starting a business. You said that two places were the capital of elopements. Those places were what?
Las Vegas is number one.
Okay.
New Orleans is number two.
Okay. So people ask me a lot, like, Chad, I'm in this area. How do I find out what I'm supposed to do, or what they're doing? How did you find that information out? What did you do to find that out? That's what you needed to do there.
Yeah, I just started doing research,
Okay.
What was the opportunity down here? Because I didn't know a lot. My ex was from here.
Right.
And so, he had family and friends and that sort of thing. But, getting your name out there is not easy because there's a lot of officiants down here. So there's a lot of competition. And so it's like, okay, so what do I do? So I started researching what's my best choices and, how to go about it. And I probably studied for probably a year and worked on my website, built my own website, and really just focused on what is it I want? What is it I want to present to the client? And where do I want to go with it? Do I just want to just do all weddings, or do I want to specialize?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you did the research, you came up with your website, your business name, and go ahead and tell us, what is your business name?
My business name is NOLA, which stands for New Orleans, Louisiana. And down here, everybody knows NOLA as that's the nickname for it. So it's NOLA Elopements and wedding ceremonies.
Okay. And what's your website? Because people are like, she built her own website, and I've seen it, and it's pretty impressive. Tell us what the website is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's www.NOLAElopements.com.
Okay, great. So Officiant Nation, all of the listeners that are on here and you don't have a website, check her website out. You've already looked at mine. The most important piece is getting it out there, even if it's not perfect. But yours is great, and I'm sure yours wasn't what it is now when you first put it up, right? You added on to it, and
no, I have adjusted it a few times. Actually, I'm in the process of updating it again.
Okay,
because
awesome.
we've added to my team and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So I've got to make some changes there.
And it's an ever-growing thing as you go along in your business. So
yes, and it's an important piece. It's a
it
very
is
important piece because everybody looks there.
what percentage would you say of your leads that turn into customers come through your website?
I don't have a percentage, but probably, I don't know if it comes through the website, but it comes through Google.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I get a lot of Google connections, probably 50% of them at least.
Wow. So if there's people out there that are officiants and they're just depending on word of mouth, which does work great, but they're not on Google, they're missing out.
Right, exactly. And I'm on Google My Business as well.
Right.
And so I'll go in there and just post a link, or I'll post a picture of my clients, hey, today was a great day or whatever, and just an updated picture just to kind of keep it active. And I'm slowly learning the SEO portion of this because I'm not computer smart usually. So it's definitely been a learning lesson for me.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm a business owner. If I was starting out, or if I had an officiant business and I hadn't done elopements exactly, but I want to add this to my services. We're speaking to you. You're the expert in this. What advice would you give me to make sure that I actually made money? I was able to offer a service. I wasn't wasting my time because I was spending too much time. Give us like some key advice about that.
Well, elopements are a little different than a big wedding. A big wedding is a little more time consuming because, you've got to work with the client as far as rehearsal, things like that. Elopements to me, well, let me rephrase that. The reason I specialize more in elopements is because for me, it's not about the venue and the big old to-do about everything going on around you, what liquor you've got, what food you've got,
Right.
what gifts you've got, all that kind of stuff. It's about the couple, truly. It's about their love and what's really, truly important. And I think that's why I fell in love with elopements or very small, intimate micro weddings, that sort of thing. Versus the big weddings. I'll do them all, don't get me wrong,
right.
But my heart truly is without elopements because it's all focused on the couple. So what I would say is find what makes you happy.
Okay.
Because if you're not doing what makes you happy, adding an elopement to your service you're not going to be successful unless that's where your heart is.
Okay. So let's aim the rest of this episode at people who definitely know they want to do elopements. They just when I first started, that's all I did. I came out. Me and my wife had moved to the coast of North Carolina, and I had done weddings in the past, lots of weddings. But I specifically, because I was at the beach, people come here. Some people just come here to get eloped, and I started doing elopements, and I love doing them. But when you first go into that, there's a stigma that elopements are super short, not a lot of work goes into them, and you can't make a lot of money doing them. What's your opinion about that?
Well, I don't charge per head.
Okay.
I have a flat rate based on what the location is. So, because you got to figure in your travel time, your mileage, all that kind of thing.
Right.
And what I have found is if I charge that client, okay, here's my base rate, and then I'm going to charge you so much mileage because it's outside of my little zone or whatever.
Right.
They don't like that. That tends to be a negative in their eyes. So I'll ask them, first of all, where are you located? When is your ceremony? Because down here we have so many festivals and all kinds of things that affect our traffic flow and all that kind of stuff. So a wedding at one point might be 20 minutes to get to the ceremony, and in a festival it might be 2.5 hours.
Wow.
So you really have to calculate your time in that. So you got to know when it falls. So I don't know, everybody's area maybe different, but you have to kind of just figure that out. So for me, I figure out where it's going to be, when it's going to be, And then from there, we build that ceremony. So I base it on location and my time more than it is the number of guests, because you're doing the same amount of work. You're still creating their ceremony.
Right.
They may not have a sand ceremony, or they may not have whatever, but I still offer those services for the elopements as well. I do lots of mother's roses. I do lots of sand ceremonies, unity candles, all that kind of thing, even in an elopement. Just because it's an elopement doesn't mean they don't want those special little features. And why deny them that because it's an elopement?
Right. So I think you've already broken the next question, but coming off of that, are there different types? Obviously, there's different types of elopement ceremonies. Do you have like a template that you start out with everybody, or do you customize everybody's? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have a template that I use, but there is so many options on it that they can pick and choose what options they like. And in addition to that, if they like a little bit of option 1 and they like a little bit of option 3, but I don't like this sentence here, we'll mix and match and delete and change things and create it to be what they want.
Okay.
Or if they say, I really want, this type of hand fasting or whatever. Okay, so we don't have the option you like, let's find it. So we do customize it, and that's all included in my fee. I don't charge any more.
I was getting ready to ask you that.
Yeah, some ceremonies will be quick and simple because they choose the simple things. That's what they want. And some are going to be a little more. So I kind of feel like it works out in the end, because you have some that are shorter times, you have some that are longer times.
Right.
So it kind of balances out, but I charge a flat fee because it's based on my time.
Right. I've had a few coaching students. I've always taught that it's better to have a flat rate fee. And that's exactly what you just pointed out, that it balances out. It does balance out. You might spend a ton of time with one client, but there you're going to have one client that takes you 15 minutes, and it's no time at all. So you've already started talking about kind of your system and your booking process for elopements. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to start doing elopements next week? They want to put it on their website. So first, talk about pricing. Where should we start with pricing for a simple elopement?
That's going to be based on what your area pricing is, because my pricing here, I belong to a couple of different website groups, that are officiation groups. And from what I can gather, rates vary significantly across the U.S. based on your location.
I agree.
We do a lot of elopements here, and my base rate is about $2.25 for the most of them. But I see people, they can get them off of Craigslist for $75. But again, you're going to get what you pay for.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not going to get a professional. You're not going to get somebody that knows how to roll with the punches and how to change this or do this or make sure the rings are ready and make sure all these little things are taken care of, because they're not professional. They don't do it for a living.
All right.
So, it's sometimes hard to compete with those kind of numbers, but it's going to vary based on your location.
So for the people that want customers that want a premier service, a premier elopement where they can customize things, what in your system, what kind of information do you get? Do you actually have like a consultation with the couple on the phone, or do you meet them? Tell us a little bit about that in your process.
It depends on what the client wants.
Okay.
Now, nowadays, everything is so online. The people want that convenience of, I just want to just send an email or whatever. So we kind of offer a little bit of everything.
Okay.
If my clients want, we can meet via Skype. A lot of what I get are destination weddings or destination elopements that are coming from other locations. So they're not available to have a local meeting. And so we'll Skype or we'll Zoom or whatever we got to do, we'll email back and forth. It just depends on the client. I've had to do lots of phone calls. It just depends.
Okay.
It depends on, I think, more the age of the couple as well, because the younger generation are more apt to get on there and do everything through email, where the older generation says, hey, no, I want a phone call. I want to be able to see it face to face, so it just kind of varies based on what your client wants. You've got to be flexible.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what other important things would you say are like to you are extremely important for making a memorable experience for the customer? I've noticed on your website, you have incredible amounts of reviews, like really good reviews. And first of all, tell us what's important to create that experience and make a memorable experience. And then how do you get all those reviews?
Okay, well, I never asked for a review from any client.
Wow, that's incredible.
I've done probably 1,500 weddings easily, and I've never asked for a review.
Wow.
And I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had a bad review.
That's amazing.
I guess for me, the main thing is I remember that it is all about them. It's their day. It's not what I want. It's not what I think about it. It's their day. Let them choose what they want, because every woman's vision or every guy's vision is different for their day.
Right.
And so I really think that's important. And I have great communication with my clients. So if they email, I tell them right up front, if you email or text me and you don't get a response in less than 24 hours, something's wrong.
Wow.
I didn't get it. Something's wrong, because I am always right on top of it. And I also leave my phone open as far as I tell them, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you go, oh, I should have asked that. I said, text me, because if I'm not awake, then in the morning, first thing in the morning, I'm going to have it. It's off your mind. You're not going to forget it again. So I don't mind getting those texts at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever they are. And when I get up, I'll respond to it. But communication is really, really important these days. And I think that's the one thing my clients like. I'm efficient. I communicate well with them. I'm always courteous to them. I remember it's their day, not mine.
Right. And it sounds like people choose you and then go through the process and leave a review because you are so personable. You're so personal with them. I mean, a lot of people, there's a lot of companies out here who have like 3 or 4 officiants, and you can't call them at any time or text them at any time or do that. I mean, you know, they have very strict rules, but I mean, you're very personal with them, having them be able to text you whenever they feel like it. And, you know, just trusting that you'll get back to them when it's convenient for you. I think that's huge. And I feel like that's a big part of why you're getting great reviews.
Probably, but it's because I love what I do. I truly do,
Right.
you know, and my clients, you know, now I see the clients that I have married that are having children and stuff. There's, you know, a handful that I grow really close to and I'll allow on my personal page. Usually I keep my business separate, but there's a few that, you know, I like to have them on there. And now I'm seeing them having children and their children growing up.
Cool.
And it's so rewarding just to see it flourish. It's just crazy. And then, you know, I have two full-time officiants on my team as well now, so that we have a backup in case one of us gets sick or an emergency comes up. We've always got somebody typically to cover, unless we've all booked at the same time.
Right.
But I did that here this last year. I'm trying to kind of expand that so I can give my clients a little more flexibility. But the good thing about it is I work with the client all the way through personally until the day of the ceremony. Then they will have their officiant actually show up and do their officiation. But I work through everything. So they have one point of contact all the way through until the day of. That's
awesome. So that leads me to another question. You've built your business to that point where you're able to do that. What if there's people out there, they've been doing this for many, many years, and they want to find somebody who they can trust to be on their team to do the same thing? How did you find somebody that obviously that you trust to do the ceremony, that's like-minded? How did you do that?
Yeah, well, I've had 2 of them that didn't work out, but you just have to go with your gut. And what I did is I worked with a client back and forth. I had them show up with me at different ceremonies. I have had them, I have had them do the actual reading so I could listen to how they present themselves, watch them, give them tips, tell them things to do right. Okay, you know, this is a little bit of constructive criticism. This isn't working. Try it this way. So I work with them directly so that they kind of get the same way I like to do things. You know, I'm successful for a reason, and I want them to be successful, because if they're successful, I'm successful, right? So if I work with them and get them to where I am, they can be on that team and we can be a team together. And we're always about teamwork. You know, I had one of my gals, her mom just had a massive heart attack. And
Wow.
she couldn't perform the ceremony. So I got a hold of my other gal and she's like, not a problem. Let's cover it. You know,
That's awesome.
we're really good about working together. And I think that's important. I do need to bring a gentleman on the team because once in a while we get requests for male only officiant. But so far I haven't had any luck with finding a really good officiant that's a male.
Right.
So if you want to come join my team?
I'm a little far away. It'd be a long drive, but
Come on.
so this is really important what you're talking about. And like you're looking for a male. I actually sometimes on the side there's a company here where I'm at and they cover all the way from Florida up to the East Coast of North Carolina, and I'm an officiant for them because they were looking for a male and I started doing stuff with them. But in your opinion, how do you go about bringing somebody on your team, not just the hiring process, but after you've done that, do you give them all of that ceremony money or do you pay them hourly, or how does that work?
It's a flat rate just like I charge a flat rate. So they have a flat rate that they get. And I take a small portion of it because I work with the client all the way through until
And it's your business too.
Well, and not only that, but I pay advertising and all
Right.
I pay all those kind of expenses. So a portion of that comes off, but they get a good chunk of it, enough that they can be successful with it.
So when you bring them on, you just tell them, here's a flat rate. Y'all agree on that. And then every time they do a ceremony, that's what they get. That's great. And for people that are running a business and they're running it correctly, how do you do that? Are they a contractor under you or are they actually an employee?
No, all of mine are contracted employees because that keeps my expenses down, having to have an actual employee on board.
Yeah, that's the way I would tell people to do it too. My wife and I owned a cleaning company before this, and that's the way to do it. You have a contract employee, and they take care of everything, even if you have to pay them a little bit more. There's a lot more paperwork that goes into an employee. So
that's it. Yeah, and a lot more responsibilities and insurance and all those other little things that you don't even want to think about. So it's just easier if they're a 1099 and contracted.
Oh, I love it. So this has been good. There's lots of tons of advice. I hope everybody out there is listening. This is incredible. Do you have any other professional expertise, advice that you could give to all the entrepreneurs that are listening to you right now?
I would say do the research.
Okay.
Use what's out there. Do the research. Get involved with some of the Facebook officiation groups if you're an officiant and you really want to learn. Even though I've been doing it a while, I still learn something just by somebody posted, or, they'll post a question. It will bring up some talk back and forth. And there's lots of things you've learned. And some of those things I've learned the hard way, unfortunately.
We all have.
Yeah. So, I would just say, do your research as much as you can. Get your presence out on the internet, because that's where you're going to get 99% of your clients coming from. Everything is going internet based. Your SEO is really important. And I'm still trying to learn all the ins and outs of that. I'm still not up on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me too. I actually, I worked in marketing before this for a company, but the problem is if people don't want to learn, technology is constantly advancing. So you always have to be learning it if you want to grow your business. So that was really good advice. The last 3 questions that we ask, in fact, you are the first, not contestant, the first guest that is going to be answering these questions. They're called the final favorites, and they are your personal favorites, hopefully that we can learn from, and maybe something that we can even put into action in our business or daily life. So the first one is, what are your favorite tools? As many as you want to list. Examples are like online software, social media, something we may not know about.
I would say my favorite tool is Google Your Business, because that helps get your name out there on Google. I'm kind of torn back and forth between using my tablet and using paper when it comes to the actual ceremony, because I like to use my tablet, but there's times that it's nice to have the paper. If I need to change something or do something right away, I can do it. So I'm kind of old school. I'm just kind of in between on that. And social media, get your name out there as much as you can. I'm still learning how to do all these, tag photos. I don't understand all of it. I'm still trying really hard to learn it all.
That's all right. That's constantly growing too. I am too. My kids can jump on there and do some damage, but I have no idea what I'm doing here sometimes.
Right,
So I
right.
feel you.
And focus really about, you think about how you want to be treated, because if you're treating others the way you want to be treated, chances are you're going to get really good reviews. Do a good job, be thorough, love what you do, and it's going to come back to you tenfold. I mean, God has blessed me. I just cannot explain how much he's completely just blessed my life with this.
That's amazing. I love it. I love hearing that. So next question, if you had a book that you could suggest to your fellow wedding professionals on any topic, something that's impacted you, what would it be?
Online learning.
Okay.
That's been a really tough one for me to swallow. I'm not a young spring chicken. I'm in my late 50s, and I have a really hard time with this whole online process. So I would say learn as much as you can. So if you had knowledge, that's the one to use.
Okay. So get your knowledge from the learning online.
Yeah, as much as you can, learn about SEOs and all that and how to build you, because that's where you're going to get your reviews. People are going to Google officiant in whatever area, and the first few that are going to pop out, that's who they're going to call. They're not going to scan down to 40, down 45, or whatever the case may be where you're out on the list.
Right.
It's important to get your name out there, and the more you do, the higher you get up on that Google, the more chances you have of bringing that business in.
That's true. I agree 100%. So do you have a favorite quote or some best advice that you've ever received, or maybe just some advice you want to tell us?
I think my favorite quote that I use all the time is let go and let God.
That's a good one. I've heard that many, many times.
I use that not just in my business, but I jump on the Harley, and then I always say, let go, let God, let's ride.
Did you say you jump on a Harley?
I do.
That's awesome. I would not have known from just talking to you. Look at you. You are a Harley person. That's great.
Yes, sir. I have a 2020 Road Glide Limited, so I have a full-size dresser.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's amazing. My mom used to ride bikes when I was growing up, so I know all about it. That's great.
Yeah, that's my second love.
Oh, I love that. Well, Lorrie, it's been an honor to have you on and a pleasure to talk business with you. And I really appreciate you being on here and sharing your expertise with us. I know everybody thanks you because they've learned something today. So thanks.
I hope so. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope that I've helped somebody along the line, because it truly is a passion.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, we've all learned a lot. I mean, you've just laid a ton of value. So we appreciate it.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Officiant Nation, this is Chad Muncie. I want to hope that you have a great day. Please visit our website. All of Lorrie's information will be on the website at growmyofficiantbusiness.com. Check out the show notes page for everything that we discussed today, and send us your story. You may end up being on the podcast as well. Have a great day.